Minister Greg Hands.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and with the leave of the House, if I may respond to what has been a wide-ranging debate covering many domestic and international matters. Can I just say, first of all, that the Government recognises this House enjoys significant expertise and experience on questions of human rights, and we are committed to making sure that this knowledge is utilised and to explore how we can make sure the views of colleagues are heard and considered on these issues in relation to our free trade agreements. Let me turn to the points raised during the debate. I don't have so long to respond, but the opposition, the Shadow Secretary of State, made a number of points. She said that the government was stubbornly holding on to Cragg and the Ponsonby rule despite the entry into the 21st century. And I was intrigued by that, Madam Deputy Speaker, because, of course, Cragg was introduced by the last Labour government in the 21st century, and the Honourable Lady supported it. I would add, of course, that through Cragg there is an ability to prevent ratification. We've also added, through Cragg, on the process, the publication of negotiation objectives, economic impasse assessments, parliamentary statements after each round of negotiations. We created the Trade and Agriculture Commission to inform Parliament, Section 42 of the Agriculture Act reports, and the ITC and the IAC having access to the text to provide their own reports to Parliament. She mentioned also China. Madam Deputy Speaker, I think the Honourable Lady has come a long way in a short period of time on China. Madam Deputy Speaker, I think the Honourable Lady has come a long way in a short period of time on China. Her first appearance at the dispatch box and I quote from Hansard, that any version of Article 32.10 of the USMCA that would constrain the UK's ability to negotiate our own trade agreement with China was something that she raised at her very first appearance at the dispatch box, was the possibility. She didn't want anything that would conflict with the UK's ability to negotiate a trade agreement with China. Now, I have been absolutely clear, Madam Deputy Speaker, the government, she's had no plans to negotiate a trade agreement with China, but it does seem that the Honourable Lady might. I turn to my right honourable friend, the member for Chingford and Wood Green, and we know that he's passionate on the issue, and we know he's had a long-standing interest. We've worked together on many aspects and together on trade. And he is right, Madam Deputy Speaker, that it's for the UK to shine a light across the world. And I don't disagree with any of his passionate statements about human rights and about genocide. However, we also, in this country, shine a light around the world as making good law. And the scope of his amendment is very wide. It would cover not just free trade agreements, but also potential trade agreements, and agreements which the UK might hope to exceed. It covers not only bilateral agreements, but plurilateral and global agreements, even WTO agreements as well. I don't think it would be right for the government to wait for the human rights situation in a country to reach the level of genocide, which is the most egregious international crime, before halting free trade agreement negotiations. Any responsible government would have acted before then. It's also unclear what is meant by preliminary determination procedure as well. The nature of this procedure hasn't, I believe, Madam Deputy Speaker, been thought through. And also, as a matter of international law, of course, it's individuals, not states, that commit genocide. Therefore, in requiring a preliminary determination as to whether a state has committed genocide, it is also unclear what both amendments would actually require a court to deliver. The official spokesman for the SNP, of course, what he didn't say to deliver. The official spokesman for the SNP, of course, what he didn't say is that it's the SNP's policy to rejoin the EU, which would mean, he says here, the member for Saudi, take any individuals, got a lot of points to respond to. I apologise to my right honourable friend, but I have responded to his speech. In which case, sign up to the EU's brand new investment deal with China from day one. And he suddenly said, we wouldn't do that, but he's already just said he would rejoin the EU. My right honourable friend, the member for North Somerset, makes a very strong point. The trade policy must be conducted by the elected government. We've taken control from unelected judges in Brussels, and it should be for elected parliamentarians to scrutinise. He said that amendments put forward today for the very best reasons will result in the very worst practice. My honourable friend, the member for Tunbridge and chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, a powerful speech, particularly about his own family's experience of genocide. And he is absolutely right. Genocide is the worst crime that there is. It removes an entire people. But we still, Madam Deputy Speaker, need to make sure we are making good law. And if a country is committing genocide, it's extremely unlikely that any UK government of any colour would be negotiating a trade agreement with them. I don't believe it would need a court to tell us that, a point also made by my honourable friends, particularly the member for West Aberdeenshire. The chair of the Trade Select Committee had a few points to raise in terms of the committee's scrutiny of Japan. I did remember that his Trade Committee actually praised the Japan deal, but we can work with him further to improve scrutiny. We had some very good speeches from my honourable friend, the member for South Ribble, against courts' involvement. The member for Bournemouth East made strong points on the UK's international position. But I don't believe that if he really dug into the amendment that is before us, Lord's Amendment 3, that he would be supporting it. My honourable friend, the member for Totnes, who has studied the amendments, made an excellent speech and pointed out that from the scrutiny from the International Trade Committee that ministers have proven ready to listen. Excellent speech. And pointed out that from the scrutiny from the International Trade Committee that ministers have proven ready to listen. My honourable friend, the member for Fylde, knows trade policy well and has also a very significant increase in parliamentary scrutiny from the Cragg position that we inherited. And we compare favourably with other Westminster-style democracies like Canada, Australia and New Zealand. My honourable friend, the member for Wealdon, again passionate on the issue, but she said that the UK government is in a do-nothing position. That is not correct, Madam Deputy Speaker. The statement made by the Foreign Secretary last week was very, very clear about the actual trade actions that the UK government is putting in place in terms of supply chains, in terms of information, and making sure that no companies benefit from any of the appalling practices happening in Xinjiang. And I would point out to her, I'm going to try and summarise all of the points that have been made. The amendment in front of us says international bilateral trade agreements are revoked. It's not kind of a suggestion, are revoked if the High Court of England and Wales makes a preliminary determination that they should be revoked. That, Madam Deputy Speaker, is an absolutist position as expressed in the Alton Amendment. And more to the point, Madam Deputy Speaker, there isn't a bilateral free trade agreement with China to revoke. And I'll come back to that point shortly. A few other points. My honourable friend, the member for Gloucester, who's been to Xinjiang and spoke strongly against what is happening there. But he also made the point the amendment, which may have China in its mind, could well be used with countries with whom we do have trade agreements. I agree on finding a balance. But the bill, as he rightly points out, is all about continuity trade agreements, the government procurement agreement and so on. My honourable friend, the member for Huntingdon, quoted the amendment of Lib Dem peer Lord Purvis. Can I just say to him, parliamentarians can have their say through the Cragg process on any future trade deal if Parliament has concerns. That is a key part of our scrutiny arrangements that are set up. The member for South Antrim said that questioned whether Northern Ireland would benefit. It's absolutely clear. Northern Ireland will benefit from UK trade deals. The UK says that. The EU says that. The 63 continuity trade deals all apply to Northern Ireland, and the withdrawal agreement and protocol are clear that Northern Ireland will benefit from UK FTAs. My honourable friend, the member for Folkestone, on platform liability, and he said, asked us to agree that what happened with the US in relation to USMCA, which the honourable lady opposite quoted earlier, would take effect in the UK. Madam Deputy Speaker, we have been absolutely clear that those provisions will not take effect in the UK. And he also called for a formal role for the Information Commissioner. I met her recently, and I'm considering what she had to say on the matter. My honourable friend, the member for Gainsborough, made a really powerful point about the importance of the issue, but the flaws in the amendment that are in front of us today. It's not for the courts to revoke trade treaties, and it's a denial of the fundamental supremacy of Parliament. And he is absolutely right on that, whilst being passionate about the issue and what is going on in China and other parts of the world. He asked for more parliamentary debate. And, Madam Deputy Speaker, that's not always entirely in any government department's hands in determining the parliamentary timetable. But at the Department for International Trade, we have always welcomed there being more debate on trade deals wherever parliamentary time allows. It is great to have members passionately interested in trade deals. My honourable friend, the member for Birmingham Northfield, a powerful speech on the 63 deals done. My right honourable friend, the member for Kenilworth and Southend, former Attorney General, raised also some really strong points looking at the actual legal language of the amendment, the Genocide Amendment, in front of us. What does a preliminary hearing mean? Who is the respondent? Would it be the foreign government, or would the UK government have to respond for that foreign government? A foreign government which, in almost all conceivable cases, the UK government would have been very critical of. He raises a really, really serious points that get to the heart of the amendment, how it is not appropriate in our constitutional settlement for the High Court to be doing such a thing as trying to revoke an international treaty. On online harms, I'm very happy to engage with them further. Excellent speeches from my honourable friend, the member for Aberdeenshire West National Treaty. On online harms, I'm very happy to engage with them further. Excellent speeches from my honourable friend, the member for Aberdeenshire West Hertford and Stortford, Dudley North, Milton Keynes North, on the importance of the APPG and Hong Kong. Passionate, but he also said lawmaking is also about workable rules, and doubted if a court should have the right to automatically revoke an international treaty. Madam Deputy Speaker, can I just say a few words also about some of the opposition contributions? I don't have time to reply to all of them, but it's good courtesy to try to reply to as many as possible. The member for Aberavon argued that this is... I think he was making an argument about whether courts should pronounce on genocide. And that is a very relevant topic for debate. However, what we have in front of us is not the question of whether courts should pronounce on genocide. The question is whether the courts should have the right to automatically revoke an international trade agreement. That is the amendment that is in front of us. And that is the amendment, Madam Deputy Speaker, I urge my colleagues to reject. It is not for a court to revoke international treaties. Now, with regard to the NHS in particular, raised by opposition members from Vauxhall, Bristol, Wirral West, the government has been consistently clear about its commitment to the guiding principles of the NHS, that it is universal and free at the point of need. The government's position is definitive. The NHS is not and never will be for sale. The NHS is, of course, the most beloved of British institutions and is not in anyone's interest, including this government's, to change that. And no UK trade deal will change that either, Madam Deputy Speaker. Let me just say a few words finally, directly about Amendment 3 on genocide from Lord Alton. I know Lord Alton well. I worked with him very closely on a lot of these issues. He and I were instrumental in the North Korea all-party group, and I know his absolute passion on these issues. And I know also from my own involvement in these questions in relation to Central Asia, including here in Parliament, 2006, and articles that I wrote at the time, 2011, how passionate he is about these issues. But being passionate about an issue, Madam Deputy Speaker, that is why we are in this place. But it is also incumbent on us to make good law. And that is fundamentally the question that is in front of us tonight with the Alton Amendment. Three other points I'd very quickly make. First is that there is no bilateral free trade agreement with China to revoke. So even if the High Court decided to do so, that will not bring any comfort to the Uyghurs. Second point, is it, as I've mentioned, Madam Deputy Speaker, a matter for the courts to revoke automatically international treaties negotiated by this government and approved by Parliament to be automatically revoked? I do not think that that can be right. And Madam Deputy Speaker, China, we do not have a bilateral free trade agreement with China. But dozens of other countries we do have bilateral trade agreements with. And I'm not at all sure, Madam Deputy Speaker, that it's the right role for the High Court to be potentially clogged up with questions of other countries and international relations and international treaties. I'd ask my right honourable friend and right honourable friends to consider that carefully if that is the route that they wish to go down. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, the amendments introduced into the bill by the other place were undoubtedly done with good intentions. I hope I've spoken to all of the points arising in this debate and to the speakers and to the amendments. But it is our strongly held position that these amendments would, in the aggregate, be to the detriment of the bill rather than its advantage. I hope that what I have said here provides the House with the clarity regarding the government's positions on the amendments we are discussing today and votes to reject these amendments.